Welcome to the Random City Podcast.
Chester Copperpot! He was a pro! He never made it this far.
A competitor. He was very good.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
A person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
Where did you come from? From your blood.
I'm Groot. You will be.
When Godzilla's coming, y'all be tripping.
Just listen to the old Pork Chop Express Speaker's advice on a dark and stormy night.
You underestimate my power.
He's gonna be the third scariest thing on that train.
These guys come from Legend. They're basically gods.
There's only one god, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
Welcome back to the Random City Podcast. I'm Jimmy in Georgia. It is time to get random once again. Had a new episode drop a few days ago for the first time in a while. Thank you guys for checking that one out. Hitting us up on Instagram with those likes. Appreciate that. So today, I want to talk about some more random stuff. One of the topics I want to cover briefly, randomly here in Random Chatter, is the 90th birthday for Mickey Mouse. I think almost everybody in the U.S. at least, I know around the world it might be a little different. We grew up with Disney to some varying degrees. I definitely loved some of the Disney movies as a kid. And then as I got older, they definitely started making some really good movies in lots of different ways. But I like Mickey Mouse. But you know, as far as that older pantheon of characters, I really preferred Goofy. I love the old Goofy, I guess, shorts where he would be doing some kind of sports. He would, fall off the cliff and go, woo, those kinds of things. I was a bigger fan of Goofy than Mickey, especially going into, the late 80s, early 90s, I guess, with DuckTales and things like that. I like Donald Duck more than Mickey. Mickey's definitely lower on my totem pole of Disney characters, but he's still a great character. Without Mickey, there would be no Disney. There wouldn't have been all those other things, so I definitely give him his props as far as a character goes. One thing I find interesting, I'm sure this is probably going to change here in the near future. Every time Mickey Mouse comes up for possibly entry into the public domain, Disney's lobbyists, and yes, they have their own lobbyists, throw who knows how much money at the government, and they change the laws. This happened in the 70s, this happens in the 90s, and I truly expect it to happen again within the next few years, since currently Mickey Mouse is expected to go into public domain in about 4 years, in 2023. So I think this will change soon, and we'll be hearing on the news, such and such a change, because of Mickey Mouse and Disney's money and their influence. But anyway, happy birthday, Mickey. I did watch the show on ABC via Hulu, which was interesting. The new character models they have where the eyes and mouth move are kind of cool. It's kind of scary a little bit here and there, depending on what was happening, but definitely better than the ones I had seen in years gone by. And so, as celebration for Mickey's 90th birthday, I did do a Steamboat Willie sketch of Mickey Mouse. So if you want to go over to @Jimmy INGA, Jimmy in Georgia on Instagram, you can check that out and leave me a comment or something. That'd be great. One of the things I want to mention here in the Random Chatter portion of this week's podcast, I've been playing The Legend of Zelda, the original 1987 classic on the NES Classic, or as some call it, the NES Classic, or as I like to call it, the Nintendo Classic. Because I've always been one of those old school people who called the NES the Nintendo. I'm going to play Nintendo. These days you hear people talking about the NES and the SNES. I never called it a NES or a SNES. I called it the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and occasionally NES or SNES. Not a NES or a SNES. But who cares? I've been playing Zelda. I played it growing up. I rented it. I never owned it as a kid. And I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't have a map. I wandered around and I died. And, this is kind of dumb. And so years, later now, I've had the Nintendo Classic, as I like to call it, even though that's not what it's called. For a while, it came back out earlier this year, and I was finally able to get one. I wanted one like 2 years ago for Christmas, and obviously, like many of us, I didn't get one. And so it's been fun going through there. Overall, it's taken me a little over 10 and a half hours over the course of probably 2 weeks to go through the game and actually save Princess Zelda. And so last night, actually, as I'm recording today, I defeated the game for the first time, and I know there's a second version that gets harder, I guess kind of like the original Super Mario Brothers, where you can go back through and it gets more difficult. And I like that idea, but at the same time, I don't like starting over after being all super powered, having, upgraded shields, upgraded swords, upgraded health, etc., 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 and then having to go back to 0. But either way, I really enjoyed this, and so since I do have the NES Classic and the SNES Classic, I'm going to probably, get into the Zelda 2, because that's the one I've never really played. And then I did play again. I didn't own it, but I played A Link to the Past on the Super Nintendo back in the day, so I kind of feel like just going through these games. And I don't know at what point I won't have them or won't be able to get one, cheaply. I have Ocarina of Time. I have a couple copies of it, actually. I think I have a gold copy and a regular copy. I beat it when it first came out, like the weekend it first came out. I was in college at the time. I just moved into this apartment, and a friend of mine came over, and we played that game like for the entire weekend and beat it. Like, just took us a couple days. Like, we got very little sleep. It was kind of like being kids again, like in the best way. Like, because I remember doing that with my cousin. I'd go over stay with my cousin, and we'd play whatever the latest game he had or I had, or we rented, whatever the option was. I feel like one of the ones we played for a really long time was like the Streets of Rage, and then one of the Nintendo, maybe even Sega, but one of the old Ninja Turtle games. I feel like we played those things forever, around like 1990 or so, something like that, a long time ago. Anyway, that was fun, and I never have really played Majora's Mask, and so that would be one I would need to pick up. I do have the Ocarina of Time for the 3DS. I've got tons of video games. I guess when it comes to video games, I've never really considered myself a collector, especially since over time, for the most part, I've either given away or sold so many of the ones I had. But in the last decade, I guess, or 6-8 years, I picked up some of those older things again. I got a PlayStation 2 a while back. I think I mentioned this at some point on one of the podcasts. I don't want to get too heavy into this, but anyway, just recently I picked up a Nintendo, again, the NES, off of eBay. It was real cheap. It was like $25. Came with one of my favorite games ever, RC Pro-Am. It works, but it has some issues. I replaced the 72-pin connector, but I still think I probably need to go in. There's a little chip in there that's supposed to be protecting the console from some kind of region locking kind of thing. And it sounds like if I solder one of those pins, I can make the Nintendo work. Because I usually get a blinking light and a green screen. And if I move the cartridge around, eventually it'll pop up with the actual games. Now, all the games I've gotten so far have been cheap off of eBay, and they've all worked. I picked up Excite Bike and then the Duck Hunt Mario for, I guess, around $10 probably for the two of those. And then I got a lot of 3 games not too long ago of Bases Loaded, which was a classic baseball game. I'm pretty sure that's the one that the kid in Princess Bride is playing, Kevin from Wonder Years. And then it also included Ice Hockey, which was a good one that has Mario on there, which is funny. And another one of my all-time favorites, Pro Wrestling. My brother and I really dug Pro Wrestling as kids. He was older than I am. I guess he was a teenager or whatever, but that was definitely, I picked up, just in the matter of a few weeks, 3 of my favorite games for the Nintendo, with the RC Pro-Am, Excite Bike, and Pro Wrestling, and of course Mario. But apart from Mario, everybody loves Mario for the most part. So yeah, I guess that's my random chatter on video games, and maybe this will be a more regular section of the show. I don't know. I guess I'll keep you updated on my progress if I keep going with the Zelda franchise and catching up on the ones I didn't play before. So, all right, we're going to move on over into our random selection for this episode. It's almost Thanksgiving as I'm recording, or it's just a few days away. So I feel like people don't talk about as much as far as like TV shows and specials and things, because those aren't as popular. There's the Charlie Brown has his Halloween special. He has a Christmas special. Both of those are probably the 2 most popular ones. There's a Thanksgiving one. I remember it. I haven't seen it in ages. But one I have seen recently that I do like was the Garfield Thanksgiving special. I think this is from the late 80s, so kind of in the heyday of Garfield in general. And it's really funny. Like, one thing I forget how funny the Garfield TV specials were before the Garfield TV series, before Garfield and Friends. That show was okay, but it was usually not as funny. Had a good time watching the Garfield Thanksgiving special again, and it was interesting. John, I don't know, if you really take a look at the show or the whole series, the comic strip, whatever, John's a crazy dude talking to his cat all the time. And I mean, we, the audience, hear what Garfield says, but John doesn't. It's kind of like John's just crazy for the most part. But anyway, I really dug the thing. One of the bits that ran throughout the show, there's two main bits that ran throughout the whole show, was Garfield went to the vet. And the vet was the lady that John was trying to hit on, trying to get a date with. And for some reason, this lady decided that she would accept his invitation to come to Thanksgiving after John almost kills himself by holding his breath like a child. Also, as a part of the going to the vet, Garfield's put on a diet for most of the special. And so he's complaining about not getting enough food. He gets like a half a piece of lettuce for lunch, etc., etc., etc. But it was very funny. And Grandma came in and saved the day for John because he doesn't know how to cook. And I don't know. I had a good time watching it. Thanksgiving is one of those weird times of year. It gets so overlooked. It gets so pushed aside these days with the way Christmas is marketed, how there are Christmas items in stores in like August, in some cases maybe July. If you're in like a Hobby Lobby, those things, I think they get Christmas trees in May. It's just ridiculous in lots of ways. And so where I live, and I'm not joking, middle of October, Christmas trees were going up all around town. Before November 1st, the city had hung their lights all over town on the street lights for Christmas. And on November 1st, here in town, a good chunk of the town had switched to Christmas mode as they prepare for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people to come in the next few weeks to come to our place to have Christmas things. So anyway, it's been Christmas for a while here already, which I don't like for lots of different reasons. In my book, you shouldn't start Christmas things until Thanksgiving evening. The evening of Thanksgiving is the time where you say, okay, it's time to put up the tree, or it's time to go find a tree, maybe that weekend. But up until then, I don't find it appropriate really to be playing the music and all those things. Especially here, having Christmas stuff up before Halloween is not acceptable. And then totally ignoring Thanksgiving, I don't like. And so anyway, I want to talk about Thanksgiving. It's one of those things, I feel like this is something that's lost these days just because we're such in a hurry to make money for Christmas and all the retailing situations, and it's not just retail, but all those people who make money off Christmas are so ready to make that money. It's earlier and earlier and earlier, as if this whole idea in the past, 10 years, this whole Black Friday thing. Black Friday wasn't a thing until recently. Black Friday was just what they called the day when they would start making more money as people started Christmas shopping. But in the past, 10 years or so, it's become like a holiday where people are just doing ridiculous things. They're getting trampled going into the malls, trying to get a cheap TV or whatever it is they're trying to get after. People die, people are mauled, people are getting fights. And then to top that off, it's not even on Black Friday anymore. Now it's on Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving evening. Pretty soon it'll be Thanksgiving midnight. The next thing you know, it'll be Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And then already online, everybody's been doing pre-Black Friday sales or Black Friday sales for the whole month of November. You get back to the idea of Thanksgiving. Yes, I was talking about Garfield and how silly it was, and it was funny, and all I do appreciate that. But the whole point of Thanksgiving is to be grateful for what you have. But we celebrate Thanksgiving not by being thankful, not by giving thanks for what we have or what we've been blessed with, but we celebrate, for the most part, most people, by going into debt and being greedy for things they don't really need. They covet things they don't have. They aren't content with what they have. And it's the opposite of Thanksgiving, I feel like. I guess to sum all this up, give thanks. You give whatever it is. If you have a place to live, if you have food, if you have air to breathe, if you wake up in the morning, give thanks. If you have loved ones, if you have a family, if you have a husband or wife, you have children, you have a dog, whatever it is, give thanks for them. And don't get so caught up in all this stuff. At the end of the day, all the stuff in the world doesn't really matter all that much. I mean, yes, we need a place to live. We need shelter. We need food. We need, clothes. But we could get by with a lot less than what most of us have. We don't need all the junk. But be thankful for whatever you have. Be thankful for what you get. And be thankful for time you have with people you love. Be thankful for freedom. Be thankful for liberty. Be thankful for justice. Be thankful for just the things that we take for granted. Clean water. There's just so many things. So, I do want to mention one thing here before we wrap up the show. A legend passed away in the world of entertainment, and all sorts of forms of entertainment at this point. As you are all, I'm sure, well aware, Stan Lee, the creator of numerous, just an insane amount of things, passed away on Monday. He was 95. He served in World War II, which is just awesome and amazing. He created Iron Man, Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, so many Marvel characters over the years, so many other characters as well, even apart from Marvel. Just a phenomenal talent, a phenomenal human, I feel like, in a lot of ways. I feel like he tried to inspire people. Just some of the quotes I've seen of people have been posting from him have been just kind of awesome. And so just want to take a moment and remember someone who has impacted a lot of us. I like to draw. That's one of the things I talk about here occasionally with my YouTube channel, with my Instagram and things. Apart from the podcast, I have Art with Jimmy on YouTube, or Jimmy INGA on Twitter, Instagram, places like that. You see me posting comic and comic book, cartoon type drawings most of the time, and so many of those are Marvel related. Not all of them by any stretch, but a good chunk of them. Like, I don't know how many times I've drawn Spider-Man the last year and a half or so. Just for one example, recently, just a couple weeks ago, I did a Mr. Fantastic drawing. It's on my Instagram. You can check that out. But yeah, so many characters, so many worlds, so many. And that's just the comic side. That's not even getting into all the movie stuff, all the cameos. Stan Lee has just been a statesman in the geek culture, I guess is a great way to say it. For so many years, he had been so esteemed by others, looked upon as such a influential person, because he was, and it's true. But in times like this, I feel like we all should remember, even if we have a long, healthy life here, like 95 years, it's amazing. Honestly, that really is. Our time is short. A couple places the Bible talks about how we're like, the grass that withers and dies, or we're like a mist of air. Like, our existence is very short in comparison to eternity. And, when someone either, you personally care about and in your real life, or some of these people who are influential in your life, even if you never met them, that definitely makes me take a moment and think about those larger things, what's really important. Bible says in James, "Yet you do not know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little while, then vanishes." 1 Peter 1:24 says, "All flesh is like grass, and all its glory like the flower of grass. The grass withers and the flower falls." In my years on earth, I've definitely seen how quickly time passes, how things seem to drag on as a child, as a young child especially, and through high school. It seemed like that took forever to get through school. But the years since high school, years since college, have just flown by. And it's just like, it's been, 20 years since I was at such and such place, or it's been, 10 years since whatever happened. It's like, wow, just crazy. I guess to sum up this little Stan Lee